Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney. On this channel, we answer publicly posted questions from YouTube users, getting folks the answers they need from an employment attorney. We have a question here today from YouTube user David Settle. Does David want to settle? I don't know, but that's his name. David Settle asked us. This is key information. So David posted on our video entitled, "My attorney won't explain why she or he thinks I should settle my employment case. Is that okay?" And in response to that video, which I will link down below, David Settle asked us, if this is going on to a person, can you fire that attorney? And what's the protocol to do it? But then how do you explain to another attorney that the previous attorney wasn't doing his or her job? Okay, so David, if your attorney will not answer your questions, will not communicate with you, will not explain his or her logic to you, then you could argue that is a breakdown in communication, and that, at least in New York, but in many jurisdictions, would lead to a breakdown of the attorney-client relationship and could be valid grounds for an end of representation. Now, the first thing you're going to have to do, we actually have a video about this, is you're going to have a conversation with your attorney about parting ways and if they're going to give up their contingent interest. If they refuse, in different jurisdictions, you have different options. I'll use New York as an example. You can go to fee dispute and kind of fight about the contingent percentage, right? The attorney's percentage of whatever they might win for you, because there's different issues going on, right? If you're firing an attorney but it's not for cause, then you might very well end up owing that percentage. We have videos on that. And if you're firing attorneys and it is for cause, then yeah, you might be able to vacate their percentage on the case. And if you're saying to yourself, is that possible that I would fire them and they would still have a percentage on the case? How could that be? The answer is it could be, because they put a lot of time and money into the case, and a judge or a fee dispute committee might determine they're still owed something. So that's something to pay attention to. If you can settle it with the attorney, probably better. If you can't, you might have to fight it out with the attorney. Now, we have videos on that on the channel, and I'll try to link them below, but you can certainly find them on the channel. You asked kind of a novel question here. How do you explain to another attorney that the previous attorney wasn't doing his or her job? Okay, so this is the new part to our channel that I don't think we've discussed before. Excuse me. Yes, if you fire an attorney and then you go to hire a new attorney, often new attorneys will be reluctant to take on your case. Why? Don't we all know as attorneys that there are bad attorneys in the world? I think we all do know. I think all attorneys, all litigation attorneys, certainly, and without question, all employment attorneys are well aware that there are a lot of just garbage attorneys in the world and in this field. So that's fundamentally true. The other side of that coin is there are a lot of bad clients. There's liars, there's cheats, there's crazy people, there's people who think they can fire their attorney and run away with all 100% of the money, and then the settlement falls apart and they're screwed, and they want to hire another attorney to put it back together again and fire them so they can try to take all the money again, right? Like, there's lots of things going on. And like, the funny thing about this industry for attorneys is defense counsel, not really your enemy. Defense counsel are the people trying to get your clients checks, right? You occasionally fight with them. You occasionally go to trial with them. Yeah, of course. I mean, they're in your way sometimes, but more often than not, 90, 95, 98% of the time, depending on the firm, defense attorneys are people trying to get money into your client's hands. They're trying to get the deal done, right? So they're not really the ones who make you miserable. Coworkers don't make you miserable. You're all in it together, right? So then who makes employment law miserable? Not the good clients. The good clients are amazing people that you're helping. You have a unity of interest. What's good for them is good for you, and you only get paid by helping them. So it's not the good clients. It's the bad clients. It's the bad clients. And they range from rabid to ignorant, and I mean, the worst small-time cons ever. Fabulously wealthy people who lie, cheat, and steal. Like, there's a million different ways to be a bad client. And often, one of the big red flags for a client trying to come in the door, trying to hire you is, yeah, I fired an attorney. Okay. That is not a good sign, right? Now, I would say, as an employment attorney, you have to really hear that person out. It's easy to jump to conclusions. It's easy to say, "What? You fired an attorney? I don't want to. I can only see 8 people today, and you're already a red flag. I could get rid of you and get somebody else in here. I don't want to deal with you." That happens. I don't think it should happen. I think you have to hear that person out. But I do think when you're hearing the person who fired their attorney out, you're going to have to end up asking some tough questions. Especially if you don't know the attorney, right? If you know the attorney and the attorney's a real mountain of incompetence, okay, fair enough. I'd fire him too. Maybe I already did, right? So, if you know the attorney's a loser, not so much of a red flag, is it? You're like, oh, this client's very perceptive. I like this. Maybe we'll work well together, right? But when you don't know the attorney, and the attorney seems to have a good footprint, you ask around, people are like, yeah, it's a pretty good attorney. Other people in the industry, yeah, you can trust that guy. I did business with him, very happy. We were opponents on a couple of cases. Real trim litigator, on top of everything, full court press, did the work. Really? This guy's that good? You're a tough critic. This attorney is good? And his client fired that attorney? Oh, I've got questions. I got a couple of questions, right? Now, as the world gets bigger and crazier and we slowly develop more employment attorneys because we don't have nearly enough in the nation, that's going to be harder and harder to do, right? There's an attorney in, let's say, Nevada. Because there's only a couple of employment attorneys in Nevada that I'm aware of on the plaintiff side. Well, somebody comes to me and says, yeah, I fired my attorney in Nevada. Okay. I'll call some attorneys in Nevada. What do you think of this attorney? You know anything about this attorney? What's the deal? Good? Bad? Indifferent? How do they communicate with their clients? Are they responsive? Do they return phone calls? Do they communicate well? Do they flip cases, or do they put the client first? The client wants a quick settlement. Would they do that? Or the client wants the long haul, wants the trial, wants to risk it all, wants to fight for the bigger payday. Would they do that? Could they do that? Do they have a trial team? Do they go to trial? Can they afford to fund a trial? There's a lot of questions you can ask around, right? I would hope, David settled, that if you're trying to hire an attorney, rather than just say, oh, this guy fired his attorney, that's a red flag, I would hope they would do the digging. But I want to be honest with you, a lot of them won't. You're going to have to go a little bit harder, search a little bit longer to find an attorney who will do the digging. Excuse me. And it just is what it is. There's not enough attorneys in this field. I myself, I think I did 19 calls today. It is 7:21 p.m. Eastern time, and I just making my first video for the day. I can't stop working until I make my... Well, I mean, I can stop working, but then you wouldn't get a video, right? So, when you call me and you fired your attorney, I have a choice. I can do the digging, spend half an hour, finding out if you're legit or not as a client with a red flag, or I could just pick one of the other 30 people who want me to call them today. It's tough. It's a tough call, right? So, David, you're not wrong. It's a concern. And I guess what I would say to you is, if you fire an attorney, you really need to pay attention to my playlist on how to ingratiate yourself excuse me, to employment attorneys and how to present your case to employment attorneys. That's going to be really key for you. You're going to need a great elevator speech to get in the door. right? When you call and you're like, hey, here's why my case is great, blah, 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 blah. Here's all the high points of my case. Very compelling. Could be worth a significant amount of money. BT Dubs did fire my attorney, but like, don't let that shake your faith here. We can get by that. We can get past that. We just got to talk about it. I can explain that, right? Like, there's a pitch. There's a way to do it. It's just going to make your life harder. A little bit. And I'm sorry. I wish that wasn't the answer, but I'm not in the business of lying here. I mean, I'm in the business of saying the truth, and everybody gets mad at me. That's kind of what I do. So, David Settle, very perceptive question. Check out those other videos. I wish you the best of luck. I'm sorry your attorney's not communicating with you, and I'm rooting for you to find the representation you need and move forward with this successfully. If this video was helpful, like, subscribe, comment down below. Helps me to help more people just like you. And remember, almost everybody works. Not everybody wins.